Trump Tower.
To the right, you have a white
Trump
building,
Tower, you
looks
see
like a
it?
wedding cake with a clock tower up at the top. This is the Wrigley
Look at that, Dershawn.
The Wrigley building was constructed to be the Wrigley
Look at that, the Trump Tower, Dershawn.
headquarters. It was completed in 2 fell swoops. The first tower, the one with the clock, in 1921. Second tower in 1924. This building is designed in a style called Spanish Revival. Revival is style
So
brought back to
beautiful, man.
ancient cultures or eras in history in order
So
to
beautiful.
honor them and bring them back to life. The Wrigley building is specifically modeled after the Giralda Tower. The Wrigley building, it is surfaced with 250,000 glazed terracotta
Yan po yung Trump
tiles.
Tower. Oh.
They are very
Yeah.
delicate, as am I. They have to be
Look at that.
hand washed once a year, as do I. These tiles, they come in 6 different shades. They start a little bit darker in the building space, gradually get lighter as you go up toward the top, just to naturally draw your eye up to the clock. I'm very often asked about the little footbridge between the 2 towers.
Look at that.
The little footbridge is not original to the building's
75-minute
design.
ride.
In 1931.
This is
People
75
always
minutes
expect a
boat
super
ride,
interesting
so
story about that
man.
little footbridge. And you know what? It is a super interesting story. If you are interested in bank branch laws, you got people from the same bank working in both towers. In order to be one bank branch, and the footbridge between the 2, thrilling stuff. Above our heads, the DuSable Bridge of Michigan Avenue, named for our city's founder, Jean-Baptiste DuSable.
Michigan Avenue.
It was here in the 1780s. He operated his trading post. Again, this used to be where the river met the lake. Michigan Avenue
There's
was
the clock
named such
tower,
because
see
it
that?
used to run along Lake Michigan. All of the land east of
Look at
that
this
has been
building.
filled in, mostly with debris since the Great Chicago Fire.
Say hi,
This
say hi.
bridge, this was the world's first double-decker drawbridge. As of last month, it is 102 years old. Straight ahead of us is the second tallest building on the Chicago skyline today, and that is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. This building is from 2009, designed by Adrian Smith. Adrian Smith started his career here in Chicago before he went on to design the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which is currently the tallest building on the planet. The Burj Khalifa is about as tall as if you took 2 of these and stacked them directly on top of each other, including the spire. This building is designed in a style called contextualism. It's in conversation with its context or location. Notice the 3 patio setbacks as you go up the side of the building. Each of these patio setbacks matches the height of an iconic structure nearby. First patio matches the height of the Wrigley building behind it. Second patio matches the height of the Mather Tower, which is the rocket ship-shaped building over on the other side of the boat. Third patio matches the height of the AMA Plaza, the Black Box building coming up next door. This is Adrian Smith's way of recognizing that he could not have put this building in this spot if not for the others that were around it first, acknowledging that architectural history of Chicago. The AMA Plaza, this Black Box building on our right, this was completed in 1973 as the IBM building. It was designed by another very famous global architect, the German-born Ludwig Mies van der Rohe.
Ganda,
Ludwig
man.
Mies van der Rohe is considered the father of modernism.
Ganda.
Modern style architecture looks just like this. It's just the skeletal structure of the
Yeah,
building's
this is
design.
historic.
Ludwig Mies van der Rohe believed very strongly that the beauty
Historic
of the
talaga
building
to,
lies
man.
in the mathematics and the precision of the engineering.
Mga
So
kaibigan.
why would you want to cover that up with any kind of decorative
This is
details?
awesome, man.
Next, on the right, are 2 of the most heavily photographed
Desi.
structures in our city. And these are the twin curving corncob-shaped towers of Marina City. Marina City is an entire complex completed in 1967, designed by a student of Ludwig Mies
Look at
van
this
der Rohe.
building, man.
His name was Bertrand Goldberg.
Look at that building, Dershawn.
This entire complex was a ploy
Nice,
to attract
huh?
residents back to the central business district of Chicago, which we call the Loop, because of the shape that the public transit train system makes around the downtown area. No one was living in the Loop in the late 50s, early 60s. Goldberg wanted to draw them back, so he was going to give them all of the resources of an entire neighborhood in a single complex. What does that look like? Housing up at the top, parking right below, office tower connected behind, movie theater, corner store, dry cleaners, restaurants, retail space, even a place to park your boat. And everything in
Look at that, Dershawn, look at that.
It was like a city within a city.
Look at that.
And it was super successful in drawing residents back to the Loop area.
Did you see
Also
that
very
parking?
famous from the Steve McQueen film The Hunter, wherein a car drives off the parking garage and into the
Just
river
few
below.
steps, the car will
Ahead
fall
of us,
down.
on the right, you have a low-lying red brick building, another clock tower at the top of this one. This red brick building with the clock, this is the Reed Murdock building from 1914.
Look at that.
It is one
55.
interpretation
That's
of
55.
prairie-style architecture. Prairie-style architecture is marked by long horizontal lines, solid construction, and integration with the natural local landscape. The most famous interpretation of Prairie-style architecture is the portfolio of Frank Lloyd Wright. Unfortunately, there's no Frank Lloyd Wright for me to show you on the river. I still highly encourage you to take a trip to Oak Park where you can tour his home and studio. I will impart just one Frank Lloyd Wright fact since we're here, and that's the fact that he shared a son-in-law with Joseph Stalin. Both men had daughters at one point, married to an architect named William Wesley Peters. Both of their daughters were named Svetlana. End of Frank Lloyd Wright fun facts. This building is also asymmetrical. It was shaved and the angle was replaced in 1930 to make space for LaSalle Street to get wider. Just shave and replace. You gotta make this city work for you know? Across the water from the Reed Murdock building is the present-day River Theater, portion of the Riverwalk. However, it's also a pretty somber Chicago landmark. This is actually the site of the deadliest maritime disaster in Great Lakes history. On the morning of July 24th, 1915, 2,500 employees and family members of the Western Electric Company were boarding the SS Eastland in this spot. They were headed to a company picnic in Michigan City, Indiana. The boat was very top-heavy with extra lifeboats for regulations set in place following the Titanic sinking 3 years earlier. Ballast tank stabilization efforts failed, and the boat actually tipped on its side during boarding, trapping over 800 people below. A 20-year-old named George Hallis was ticketed and supposed to be on board the Eastland. His body was never recovered, and he was reported deceased in the papers. When a couple of his friends dropped by the house to pay their respects, they were very surprised when George himself answered the door. He said, "Oh, George, we thought you were a goner." He said, "Oh, I was going to be late, so I didn't bother to show." Which is great, because George Hallis went on to found and own the Chicago Bears. Ahead of us, on the right, just after the next bridge, we have a giant limestone building. The thick green colored building has a green roof. This giant limestone building is called Merchandise Mart. Merchandise Mart was constructed in 1930 as the wholesale warehouse for the Marshall Fields department store. At that time in 1930, this was the largest building on the planet in terms of square footage. The building is enormous.
Alam nyo, I encourage people na makita nila ito. Very historic talaga. Ang ganda-ganda, man.
Merchandise Mart has had its own zip code, its own fire station. To this day, it has its own public transit train stop. The building is designed in a style called Art
Wow, beautiful.
Deco.
Look at that,
Art
man.
Deco style architecture is marked by vertical racing stripes of a polished Indiana limestone face.
Yung mga ano, yung mga photograph.
The look of those racing stripes.
Yung, ano ba,
Metallic elements on the
postcard. This is like a postcard pictures right here. Unbelievable, man. So
in a nod to this building's retail roots, you can see these green-head statues along the river's edge. These are the princes of retail, men such as Marshall Fields, Aaron Montgomery Ward, Woolworth, Wanamaker, and more princes. We are now headed into an area of the Chicago River called Wolf Point. Wolf Point is where the three branches of the Chicago River converge. The main branch, which we've been traveling up so far, the north branch from this direction, and the south branch from down here. They all meet at Wolf Point. This is where we originally built the city of Chicago.
Look at this.
The city of Chicago was incorporated on March 4th, 1837.
Wow,
with
look
a
at this.
population of
Postcard.
about 400 people.
Jazzy.
Here at Wolf Point. Today, Chicago is up to 2.7 million, and Wolf Point is home to some of our newest and our flashiest architecture. For example, straight ahead of us, you have a curved blue glass building that looks like a hot
sorry
pocket.
dun sa ano.
This building, it is called River Point. It was completed in 2017, designed by Pickard Chilton, and that
Ay,
arch at the
isang
bottom is
boat
actually
na-
structural. Notice
Kita
the
niya.
portholes in the White Plaza below. Those are actually exhaust fans. There are Metra and Amtrak passenger trains running underneath this building. When they went to design the structural
Look at the
support for
train.
River Point, they could not just stick something straight into the ground. They would run it to the railroad tracks and keep that load-bearing.
Look at that architecture, man. Diyan po nakilalang Chicago sa buildings ng Chicago. Mga building dito.
In front of River Point is a spiraling red sculpture. This spiraling red sculpture is called Constellation. It was designed by the world-famous Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. This is the only Calatrava work that we have in Chicago. He designed a building that was supposed to go
Look
up
at
here
this.
many
Look at
years
this
back
tall
called the
building,
Chicago
man.
Spire. The the Chicago Spire was going to be over 2,000 feet tall. It would have been the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. However, that project was killed by the 2008 financial crisis.
We're moving.
They had broken ground. Today, the Chicago Spire project is quite literally a giant hole in the ground near Navy Pier. Be careful, it's 76 feet deep.
Whoa.
You can't fall in. It's boarded up. The Great Chicago Spire. I do recommend that you look up some photos of this whole endeavor. You could just Google civic embarrassment hole in the ground Chicago and you will find it. I have tried. As we curve into the north branch of the Chicago River, you see the oldest building of our tour coming into view, and that is this peachy kind of pink colored building that will be on our left. This peachy pink building is called Fulton House. It was originally constructed in 1898. At that time, it did not look like this. Did not have any windows. You see, Fulton House was constructed as a cold storage warehouse for raw meats.
So ito yung yung bridge na tumataas, mababa.
With different ways to keep all those cuts cold so they wouldn't go bad before you ship them out. One of the ways we did that was by constructing these giant building-sized refrigerators in the middle of the downtown area and then just stacking them stories and stories high with raw animal carcasses. It's a fabulous mental image for your holiday afternoons. Fast forward to the late 1970s and an architect named Harry Weiss of the very triangular Swiss Hotel, he decides he wants to convert Fulton House into 106 condominiums. Before he could do any construction on the building, he had to thaw it out for 3 whole months. Then he had to haul out 500 semi-truckloads worth of cork and
so beautiful, man.
That had been used to insulate the walls.
Punta na kayo dito.
Next,
it's really nice, really nice. Nakaka-goosebumps. Kasi historic ang mga buildings dito sa Chicago because of its architecture.
They represent a style of architecture called postmodernism. If modernism was the minimalist black box design of Ludwig van der Rohe, this is its off-the-wall rebel child response of the 80s and 90s. Postmodernism is marked by wacky and whimsical design elements on the building's facade. 3 of the 4 original families still own their river cottage today. They purchased their homes in 1989 for about $250,000.
Maliit lang yan. Pero $250,000 yung isang nila dyan. Unit nila. Wow, that's a small unit.
The river has become more of a recreational waterway in that time than it ever was in all of our cities past. Now, Captain Ben is going to be turning the boat around here on the north branch of the Chicago River before we head back into Wolf Point to check out way more of the south branch. At this time, we're going to take a quick break, give our neighbors a break as we spin our speaker system in front of their homes. Great time for you to visit Lainey at the bar, use the restroom, or just hang out and relax.
Look at this people.
I'll be back on the microphone in about 3 minutes to talk about that bridge that was sticking up straight into the air.
I know, very nice, bro. Oh, he resting. I think she got tired talking.
No, she didn't. Can we stand up
I don't
now?
blame her though.
Can we stand up now?
Yep, very good.
How we doing, folks? This feels so good.
Yeah, oh, Dodo. Diba? Ang ganda,
I'd
man.
rather just get
Look at this. So beautiful. Ikot lang tayo, ikot lang tayo. Tignan nyo itong nasa likod. Ayan, ang ganda. You know, oh. Historic po ito, yung mga building dito. Talagang from the Mafia era pa. Yan. Kaya iikot na eh. I think it's turning around.
Yes,
It's turning around.
It is because we're going south now.
Good thing we didn't fix it. You know what
Going back.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going back. Hindi naman we're just gonna go right. We're gonna go south.
Well, how many people are watching?
There are 3 people who's watching, but on and off. They've been. Now it's 4. You know.
Can I stand up?
Yeah, you can stand up. You can walk around if you like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can walk around. Go ahead. You can walk around, guys.
Finally, I can.
Yeah, you can stretch out. That's why she stopped talking. It's time for you to stretch out. There's my boys.
Oh my gosh. I can see the captain up there.
Yeah.
Captain
Happy 4th of July, Sir Job. Happy 4th of July sa inyong lahat dyan. Well, you know, family time, itong mga magagandang time na ito, talagang it's really nice to share it with your family. It's really nice po. So beautiful. Well, you gotta take advantage of this. So beautiful. Hi kids. Sayaka, Dodong, dyan daw galing si Hermo. Ikaw talaga hanggang dito ba naman? Dami sale dyan, sir. Oh. Nice, sir. Tim, how are you? Curious ka ba? TV, yan. Ganda dyan. Oh, maganda talaga. Maganda talaga dito, sir. You know what? Kasi ang tagal na namin dito sa Chicago. Pero hindi pa rin namin, hindi kami nag-attempt mag-ride ng boat. I was thinking na, sabi namin is, it's a waste of time, sabi ko. Kasi, we're just, pasyal na lang kami ng kotse. But you know what? It's worth it. Look at this beautiful structure.
That giant block of concrete tucked
Look
in
at
there.
this.
It is a 3-to-1 ratio. The counterweight has to be 3 times as heavy as the length of the bridge.
Picture
The Carroll
perfect.
Avenue Bridge was built in 1908. At that time,
Picture
it was the longest
perfect.
and
Nice.
heaviest lift bridge in the entire world. It was a rail bridge, had train tracks running over it. That railroad is no longer operational, neither is the bridge, but the bridge is a historic landmark. We will not be knocking it down. Still open and close it just once a year, just to make sure that we still can. Pretty straightforward.
Oh, meron. Malapit kami dito. Pero kanina pa yon. Yeah, sa Harlem yun eh. Sa may bandang Harlem yun. Oh. Pero malapit din. Siguro mga like 20 minutes away. So, watching from Toronto, regards. Yes, Dudong.
To the bridge house, so there is a planned bridge opening. For example, in the spring and in the fall, they carve out time on Wednesday and Saturday mornings to open all of the bridges in succession so that people can bring their sailboats out from storage along the South Bridge and into the marinas along the lake. And then in the fall so that they can take them back into storage once again. The bridges open and close about 40 times per year on
Ito yung
average.
parang di ba?
Kind of
Yung
interesting, bridge tender used to be a
postcard,
political
perfect
appointment. It's
pictures.
a very Chicago fact for you. Straight ahead of us, up and to the right, you have a reflective glass skyscraper. This one looks like a sharpened pencil or a tuning fork or an arrow sticking into the ground. This is 150 North Riverside. It was also completed in 2017, same as River Point. This one was designed by the firm Gatch Partners. Gatch Partners has
Kudos dun
a
sa
river on
sa
one side of
tour
their
guide,
lot
man. Ang
and the
galing-galing
railroad
niya.
tracks on the other.
She knows
Plus, when you
all the
construct
details and
buildings on the
history of
banks
this
the Chicago
buildings
River,
around
you have
us.
to include a 30-foot setback for an open-air public plaza. Trying to keep the riverfront as open to the public as possible. All of this together left Gatch Partners with an area of space only 39 feet wide upon which they could construct the base of the building. The base only uses 20% of the site. It's like a Barbie doll shoulders to waist ratio. Basically impossible. And yet, how does this building stand upright? It is supported by a series of 16 structural support beams called caissons. Caissons are giant steel and concrete beams. In this case, they are 12 feet in diameter. And they
Kasi
run from the
mababait naman yung tao
bedrock,
dito
which here
talaga
in this
siya eh.
spot is
Kailang meron
160
mga bad
feet
part
below
din.
ground,
Pero
all the way up to the very,
those are
very top of the
hindi
building.
naman
Everything else just
ganun,
hangs
hindi
off
naman
that
talaga
center
ganun
spine.
ka-dangerous
Chicago was built
talaga.
on a swamp.
Really, it's
We
like
have to dig very far into the earth to
kasi
reach the bedrock. Here in this spot,
na-escalate
it is
nila yan na
160
mapapalaki
feet
nila sa
down.
media
For
na
comparison, it's only about
Chicago's like
18
that
feet to the bedrock
because of
in
the
Times
history.
Square.
But
My
really,
favorite part about this building
hindi
is
naman
fame.
talaga.
That is the fact. You can see the reflection of our boat going by in its funny shape.
Look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at this building, man.
On the right,
Joshua, look at this
we have
building.
The Boeing
Look at that, see that?
headquarters. Super fun place to work over the last few years. Sometimes I think
Yung
about
statue
cutting that
nakahang
joke,
lang,
but
nakahang
sometimes
sila
that
eh, oh.
Boeing that just keeps it fresh.
building's
Never
hanging.
has that been more true. About a month ago, Boeing announced they are leaving Chicago. They're headed out of this building. They're moving to Washington, D.C. No more jokes for me. That's fine. This building was not constructed for Boeing. It was constructed to be the headquarters for the Morton Salt Company. Morton has since moved over into the Hot Pocket-shaped River Point building, and Boeing moved in here from Seattle. However, if you take a look up at the top of the building, now,
Guys, watch
before we
this,
come
watch
out
this.
from
Ito
under
na,
this
parating
bridge,
na.
you will find a
Napakaganda nito.
panel of 6 giant holes
Watch this, stay,
opening
stay,
that
stay.
rooftop up to
Stay kayo,
sky.
tingnan nyo to.
Now, if you are designing a building for a table salt company
Look
and
at
you
that,
put
look at
holes in
that.
the top, what are you trying to replicate?
Diba?
A salt shaker. I used to say, those are the kind of details you might leave Seattle over, holes in the roof. Now I have to say, those are the kind of details you might leave Chicago over, holes in the roof. The tour is a living document. We are now headed into what I like to call Art Deco Canyon. There will be Art Deco on both sides of the boat. It gives you a feel for the opulence and the optimism of the style, which was popularized in the roaring 1920s in the
This is
United
awesome.
States in the Jazz Age.
So
Coming up on the
mamaya
right
po,
is 2
mag-ano kami,
Riverside Plaza,
mag,
originally the
sa
Chicago
Navy
Daily
Pier
News
po.
Building. The Chicago Daily News
Popular
Building is from
yung
1929,
pinakamalaking
and it was
Ferris
the first
wheel
building in our city
dito.
constructed
Kasi
facing the water of
overlooking.
the river. Unfortunately, for
Ang
many
taas-taas
years,
niya
this water
talaga.
was super polluted.
So mamaya
Just
pupunta
shipping
tayo dyan.
barges trying to make their way through the
Stay lang kayo.
sludge. People did not want to see what was going on.
Look at
down
that,
here.
look at
Most
that.
buildings went up with their backs to the water. The architects here, they were like, hey, maybe one day they're going to clean that water up. Maybe we're going to want to watch the boats go by. Now they have that fabulous open-air plaza to enjoy because of their foresights. Now this next series of buildings on the
Ooh,
right-hand
Civic
side of the boat,
Opera.
it is a great example of how architecture
that.
evolved in the
Civic Opera
United States
building.
throughout the 20th century. How did we go from the over-the-top, fanciful detailing of Art Deco
Look
in
at
the
that.
20s and early 30s to the very simple minimalism of modernism in the 50s and
This is
60s?
beautiful.
It is important to remember what happened to the United States economy in 1929. Stock market crash, ensuing Great Depression, quick entrance into World War II thereafter. All of these things left a giant gap in American construction. They put up almost no commercial office buildings from about
Yeah, ang ganda,
1934 until about 1957.
Ang ganda.
When they finally did return attention and resources to construction, the designers have totally different priorities than their predecessors. These are children of the Great Depression. They're thrifty and frugal. They're not concerned with bas reliefs depicting Benjamin Franklin the way the Art Deco guys were. They want to get these buildings up quickly and cost-effectively.
Well, the boat ride, kung tatanong nyo, yung boat ride po, medyo pricey siya, pero it's worth it po talaga. It's worth it. It's almost like $200. Pero ano siya, it's a 75 minutes boat ride. So it's really, it's really worth it, especially with your family. Kasi
these represent a style of architecture called international style.
you're learning the
International style is
history
super
of
easy to remember.
all this
You could pick
building,
that building
how
up and
they
put it
were
anywhere
there.
in the world at that time, and it would still make sense.
You know.
Not in conversation with its location
Lisa
at all.
Reyes,
but
hello
it
po
was
sa
like
RTC.
softening from
Hi,
the
Alisa.
engineering purity of Blue
I'm just
Wing
taking you to
style.
ano, to Chicago,
It wasn't
downtown
until the
Chicago.
80s and 90s
We're
that
on
we
a
saw
boat
those really
ride right
creative
now.
styles emerge again, like the wacky
Ang sarap
whimsical
eh.
postmodernism,
Ganda-ganda eh.
or the site-specific contextualism, like Gateway
Alis
Center
muna
number
tayo sa
4,
Dock
which is the
CCTV.
curving green glass building coming up on our right. That curve mimics the curve of the Chicago River below, and there is a pinched facade to the green glass windows. This creates a rippled reflection, makes it look as though we just pulled that building up from the bottom of the water. This building makes the most sense right where it is located on the banks of the Chicago River. It was completed in 1983. Gateway Center 1 through 4 were all designed by the firms Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill throughout the 20th century. A little bit closer to us on the right, you have a smaller black box building. This one has big X's on its side. This is the former Chicago Commodities Exchange Center. Those crisscrossing trusses, they are load-bearing. They built the entire weight of the structure on its outside skeleton. This means you don't have to leave any space
Yeah,
inside for
Alisa.
big structural support pillars. This design style is perfect if you want to
It's
have
really
somewhere
nice.
with a big open space inside. like the
Maayang
Commodities
pagmasdan
trading
talaga.
floor.
Oh,
This
mamaya,
design style
mamaya
made its
magsa-south
way
to eh.
Chicago, not with this building,
Mamaya
but with the
magta-turn
completion
siya,
of the
and
John
that's
Hancock
one of the
Center,
best
also
part
known
of
as
Chicago,
65
too.
North Michigan Avenue. That
Magta-turn
building also
siya eh.
features X-bracing on its outside skeleton, and it is also
Look at those
load-bearing
people.
as well.
Yung nasa bridge.
Back over on the left, you have another great example of black box style modernism. This is
This
300
is-
South Wagner.
this is the best
It was
time.
actually
Look at the
not
weather,
on
huh?
our tours for many, many years. So we already had so many great examples of modernism to show you. Didn't really need another one.
Look at that,
It's really
Walgreens.
facing the river. They got left out. They got very tired of being left out. So in 2014, they put a map on themselves to put themselves on the map. So this mural, it is a map of the Chicago River. That red Lego piece looking thing up at the top that marks "You Are Here." Blows my mind. How one simple work of art transforms the entire building into something that everybody talks about.
Wow. Nice. Alright, magta-turn na siya. Mga kaibigan, magta-turn na siya. Ito na yon, ito na yung...
That's a great question up front. What do you do in a thunderstorm with these super tall buildings? Super tall buildings have the ability to sway back and forth safely in the wind a very little bit. The Sears Tower, which we will be talking about in just a little bit, it has the ability
Andyan
to
yung
sway
Sears
back and
Tower,
forth
mga
in
kaibigan. Makikita yung Sears Tower. Maganda yan.
direction.
Joshon, the Sears Tower is coming.
It's enough to slosh the water out of the toilet bowls. Not really so safe about all of that, but they do have the ability to sway back and forth in the winds. Speaking of things that everybody talks about, this building on our right might look familiar to you as the Gotham City Bank,
Oh,
robbed
man.
by the Joker at the beginning of the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
This is the old Chicago Post Office. The old Chicago Post Office is from 1932.
Yan yung
and
Gotham
that's
City.
the largest post office
Yan
in
yung
the
kay
entire
Joker,
world.
yung ninakawan ni Joker
Such a big post
sa
office.
Batman.
Mail order catalog company.
Yan yung
Sears
Gotham City.
Roebuck, Montgomery Ward. We had these retail giants
that?
located here in Chicago. They were selling industrial farm equipment
Yeah,
and
yan yun,
prefabricated
yan yun,
houses. We did
Alisa.
need a very large post office.
See
That
that?
was our
See
city's
that?
post office until
Nice.
the 90s. Then mail order catalogs
Josie.
decreased in popularity. Built a smaller one next door. This building sat empty until 2016 when it was purchased by developers who have now funneled over $900 million into its renovation. The building's renovation into high-end office and event space actually became the largest commercial redevelopment project in American history. As we travel down the south branch of the Chicago River, it's a great time for me to talk to you about one of the most pivotal moments in our city's history as we are nearing its origin site. To do this, we have to go back in time exactly 150 years. Around 9 p.m. on the night of October 8th, 1871, a neighbor came by to alert
Jesse.
Catherine O'Leary of a fire in the barn behind her house over on Deco Street, just about 6 blocks to the southwest of where we are right now. Today, that exact spot is home to the Chicago Fire Academy, because
Oh.
irony is not dead.
Wow.
This city
I didn't even
had
know
rarely
that.
been drier. They hadn't seen rain since the 4th of July. This is October. Plus, the young city, only about 35 years old at this point, had been constructed almost entirely, even the streets and sidewalks,
My pleasure,
out of
Alisa.
wood. Strong winds from the southwest blew the flames from Mrs. Catherine O'Leary's barn into the heart of the downtown area. People thought that they were safe over on the east side of the south branch of the river, north side of the main branch of the river. The river's so polluted at this point, there's a thick layer of oil over the top. The river itself caught on fire. People had to seek refuge in the shallows of Lake Michigan, and they watched as the wooden city burned to the ground. Over the course of the 30-hour fire,
So,
over
malapit na tayo sa Sears
17,000
Tower.
structures were destroyed.
Historic yung Sears Tower.
Absolutely devastating. However, it did give us the ultimate opportunity to rebuild and fix all
Diba?
the mistakes we made the first
Talaga.
time around. Architects and engineers flocked to the city of Chicago in the years following the Great Chicago Fire. They were seizing upon the super rare opportunity to construct so many brand new buildings on already valuable property. One of the architects working in Chicago at this time, his name is William LeBaron Jenney, and he decided to put the weight of the structure on an inner steel frame rather than a load-bearing stone wall, and thus the world's first skyscraper was born.
Our tour guide is so very knowledgeable. Talagang ang galing niya, man. Kudos talaga, kudos. Detalyado, grabe. With the stories. Matching story pa siya. Galing.
22 years after the Great
Kahanga-hanga
Chicago
talaga siya.
Fire, we felt as though we had rebuilt enough to
Palakpakan talaga.
host the 1893
Nice, man. Tapos ang lamig pa ng simoy ng hangin.
The
Tapos di ba, dapat summer, di ba mainit, pero ngayon sarap ng hangin, grabe. Hindi na sayang, talagang picture perfect, weather perfect, grabe. Ayan yung yate. Andyan si Nemuel ngayon, naglilinis ng yate. Ayan si Nemuel. Ayun, naglilinis ng yate.
They're full of hot air. It's a long-winded stories. They love it.
Ay, Benton,
Windy
kumusta?
City is about how we
Look at
talk.
this.
It's about our
Ayan, nakikita mo yung mga yate na ganyan. Andyan si Nemuel, naglilinis.
Tell long-winded stories.
Sarap ng hangin, grabe.
Because we won the bid and we hosted the 1893 World Series.
Sana ganun yung utak na
This World
not
Series
tour
was
guide.
not one before the city of Chicago and established us as a
True.
global capital of
True,
arts
true,
and
very
culture
true.
in addition to being a titan of industry. A lot of our favorite things got their debut at this World's Fair, including Cracker Jack, shredded wheat, juicy fruit gum, Quaker Oats, the zipper, all your favorite stuff. This is where the world saw the very first chocolate brownie.
Singilin na si
A woman
Dodo.
named Mrs. Bertha Palmer, matriarch of the Palmer House Hotel. She was having her chefs pack lunches for fairgoers every day, and she told them to bake a cake that was dense enough that people could just eat it with their hands while they walked around the fair. What they came up with was the chocolate brownie. You can still purchase an original recipe chocolate brownie at the Palmer House Hilton today. Do be aware, it comes with walnuts and an apricot glaze. More for those of the turn of the century.
Ayan mga
palate.
kaibigan.
The chief architect behind the World's Fair. His name was Daniel Burnham. He wanted to create a glowing utopia that reminded people of ancient Greece or ancient Rome. He decided to use more electricity than had ever been seen in the world at that time. Imagine arriving from a rural hometown. Maybe you've never seen even a single electric light bulb.
Sorry,
You arrive
guys.
in Chicago and the entire city was lit up, glowing in the dark. He designed an entirely neoclassical style fairground campus down in Jackson Park near the Museum of Science and Industry. The Museum of Science and Industry, the structure, is actually the only remaining structure from that World's Fair today. After the World's Fair of 1893, Daniel Burnham went on to publish the 1909 Plan of Chicago. It's considered a pretty pivotal document in modern city planning. It outlines a lot of the things about our cities that we take for granted that make them so great to be in. Things like a navigable street grid system, 18-foot alleyways between each of the buildings, great place to hide our trash, expanded park systems and highway systems, as well as maximum recreational use of the waterways. Daniel Burnham's work with the 1909 Plan of Chicago, it sparked the City Beautiful movement all over the world. He inspired city planners worldwide to create cities and towns that were not only navigable and accessible, but that were also beautiful and that inspired civic pride in the people who chose to call them home. Limestone structure, twin smokestacks that we've been looking at, that is the Union Station power plant from the early 1930s, part of the larger Union train station system. Today it's owned by Amtrak. They're not doing anything with it. So we have begun Section 106 hearings, which are the legal proceedings to determine if we will make that building a historic landmark or if it will face the wrecking ball. Hard to say. Building is surrounded on 3 sides by rail yards and on the 4th by the Chicago River. What would we turn it into? I was thinking swim up bar. That's exactly why they do not defer to me on decisions such as this. And as Captain Ben spins above, you have a beautiful view of the downtown skyline. Definitely be sure to grab a photo of that.
We might. Hold on. Let's see if the schedule permits.
Dad, where's the Sears Tower?
Sears, not Sears. Sears Tower.
Where's the Sears Tower? Where's the Sears Tower?
It's coming.
A little bit about the Chicago River in general. This river is about 17 to 22 feet deep at any given point. The main branch is the deepest of the 3. The main branch of the Chicago River, where we started our tour, that comes in from Lake Michigan. The north branch of the Chicago River originates in a floodplain up near Park City, Illinois, about 40 miles northwest of downtown. The south branch, which we are traveling on right now, continues south before it meets the Des Plaines River, then the Illinois River, a tributary of the Mississippi. The Chicago River did not naturally connect to the Des Plaines River. The two were separated by a small but mighty subcontinental divide. When Europeans arrived in the 1670s, they were led across that subcontinental divide by native residents with their canoes on their backs. This portage route became the impetus for our city to build a series of canals over the next 250 years, permanently connecting these waterways, and in doing so, permanently connecting the Great Lakes water system and the Mississippi River Basin. The main branch of the Chicago River maintains that bright bluish greenish color. That is the river's natural color. That is because of all the lake water that gets flushed in at the Chicago Harbor Lock. That's the brighter blue-green color of Lake Michigan. It doesn't really make the turn so much into the north and south branches at Wolf Point. What causes that? It's a lack of phytoplankton, of course. Over the last 25 to 30 years, zebra mussels arrived in Lake Michigan, and they ate most of the phytoplankton, which is the algae that gives a freshwater lake or river. It's more brownish, greenish color. Without that algae, we're some of that very clear, almost
Okay, I gotta get
European
out.
blue. And on a holiday
Okay,
weekend like we have right now,
we'll
those
continue the
locks
tour
are
later
opening
on,
and
okay?
closing a ton. There's
Bye.
a constant flow of boat traffic between the lake and the river. So there's
Sayang.
much more lake water coming into the river this weekend. That's why we have that really bright blue color.